Hello there. Have you fallen into an open manhole recently? Do you find yourself in the company of strangers? Well, then you might very well be in the feature underground. My name is Hunter Lanier, and today I will be reviewing Alien: Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez. So I wanted to start with the positives. The movie has a fantastic look. They really nailed the production design of this very grimy, grungy version of the future. You know, it goes for that kind of retro futurism, except instead of the 50s Jetsons, fun pink Cadillac hover cars, it's retro futurism of the 70s, which means everything is kind of nihilistic and gross and broken down and gray and pale. And because the movie leans so much on practical sets and practical effects, it really does go a long way in making the world feel real and feel tactile. Of course, this all extends to the Xenomorphs and the facehuggers, which all look like they're very present. They feel appropriately slimy and gross, and they have a weight to them. They really nailed all of the creature effects, except for there is one special effect in the movie that I won't spoil that isn't quite as well done as the others. That's all I'll say. You'll know it when you see it. Another thing I really liked about the movie was the lead, which is kind of an important thing. Played by Cailee Spaeny, and I think that's how you say her name. I don't know. She also happens to have an android as a kind of like a protector or just a buddy. And he's unique among the androids in the Alien universe because he's kind of domesticated and fragile. And in fact, the movie opens with him getting bullied. You find out that this android was programmed by Cailee Spaeny's father, and he's programmed the android to protect her at all costs and also make her laugh by telling her dad jokes. And I thought that was a nice little character touch. It does two things. It creates a unique type of android character, and it gives Cailee Spaeny's character a little bit of an emotional attachment with the audience pretty quickly. Also, she's a good enough actor where I will say that the movie does not really flesh her out very much or give her really anything very interesting to do or say, but she's a good enough actor to where she's always interesting on her own. She's always, even if she's not saying anything interesting or doing anything interesting, there's something in her face that looks like there's gears turning or something is happening. And great actors can do that, where they're just always, there's a magnetic pull to them. Now, I will also say that I am a fan of how this movie ends. And when I say the end, I don't mean the very end. I mean like the last 20 minutes or so, or 15 minutes maybe. I'm going to save why I liked the ending after I give you my negatives, which are coming right now. My first issue is with the cast. The cast very much feels like this is the Alien franchise brought to you by the CW. Everyone is a baby-faced youngster, and it's the complete opposite of the cast of the original film, Alien, from 1979, which that cast, it was a cast of grown-ups. Everyone felt like working-class grown-ups with mileage. They have wrinkles in their faces. They've seen things. They've had divorces. You know, they've lost people in their lives. Harry Dean Stanton does not look like an astronaut. He looks like a longshoreman.
What I think we should do is just freeze him. I mean, if he's got a disease, why don't we stop it where it is? You can always get to a doctor when we get back home.
Right.
Whenever he says anything, you say right, Bray. You know that?
Right.
These were people who did not look like they belonged in space. They looked like they belonged not on spaceships, but Greyhounds. They were people that you did not ever expect to see in space, which was one of the things that made that original movie so unique. And as I was just talking about how far the practical effects in Romulus go in making the movie feel real, the cast in the movie in Romulus do the opposite. And I was trying to figure out while watching the movie, why did they make this choice? And my brain could only think of two things. The first thing is that Fede Alvarez is just a big fan of 80s teen slasher movies. Because this is kind of what Romulus is. It's a group of teenagers, and they're probably in their 20s, I don't know. But they're a group of, baby face. They have chubby faces, chubby-faced 20-somethings who are just getting killed one by one. So that was my first thought. Maybe he's just a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. The other thing is that maybe the studio just wanted a younger cast to try to appeal to a younger audience. I could see Prometheus and Alien Covenant not really appealing to that audience. And for what it's worth, this is the first Alien movie made under Disney. I don't know if that had any effect on that decision, but maybe it did, just throwing that out there. However you slice it, it's a major gut punch to the movie. Another smaller issue is that the movie takes a long time to get going. And during this long time is kind of when you start to realize that the cast is not interesting at all. You're fed a lot of exposition and a lot of build-up, and a lot of the build-up, and you're probably thinking, well, Hunter, that's because the movie has a slow pace. It's just building anticipation. It's building. No, it's not. The first 30 minutes of the movie is exposition and setting up a few little character traits that are just not interesting. Like one of the characters, his mom was indirectly killed by a synthetic, and so now he doesn't like synthetic life forms. That's not good writing. That's not an interesting characterization. That's about as surface level, superficial as you can get. One of the things you're probably wondering about Alien Romulus is what kind of Alien movie is it? Because the Alien franchise has taken a lot of different forms. The first Alien is a horror movie. Aliens is an action movie. Don't even ask me about Alien 3 or Alien Resurrection. I have them on Blu-ray. I can't remember a single thing about them. Then more recently, you have Prometheus and Alien Covenant, which were kind of more in that heady, high sci-fi, talking about evolution and all these things. Alien Romulus is closest to the first Alien in that it is a horror movie, but it does borrow from all of these phases that I just talked about. Where I don't think it succeeds as a horror movie like the first movie did is that the first movie, it relied heavily on atmosphere and suspense. Whereas Alien Romulus is, as I said before, a little more in that teen slasher flick style of horror, which is that it's just a series of people getting killed. Now, that's fine. I like the idea of the movie being a different kind of horror movie. But it just isn't a good one. It's not a good teen slasher flick. And part of that is that the kills in the movie are not very imaginative. They're not very fun. They're not especially gruesome, at least in the context of an Alien movie. I mean, the first movie famously had one of the most gruesome scenes and shocking scenes of all time, with the alien bursting out of John Hurt's chest. And Romulus doesn't have the new version of that. Unless you're 8 years old, I don't think there's anything in this movie that will shock you. And without the original's atmosphere and suspense, more thoughtful approach to horror, and without nailing this sort of B-movie slasher flick style of horror, it ends up just not being scary. Another reason that the movie's just not scary is because it's really derivative. It doesn't do anything different with the Xenomorphs. It doesn't do anything different with the facehuggers. The Xenomorphs crawl around in vents. The little phallic head comes out of their mouth. They slobber. The facehuggers jump on people's faces and impregnate them. And it's the same thing we've seen before. The thing is, even though this is the first time these characters have come into contact with these extremely deadly aliens, and they're very scared, it is not the first time that we, as the audience, have come into contact with these aliens. So all of this stuff that I just talked about that is not new, we've seen it before, so it's not scary anymore. It's just not scary when you know what's going to happen. The first movie, Alien, I wasn't around in 1979 to see it in theaters, but I can only imagine yet another thing that makes that movie really scary is that you have no idea what's happening here. You have no idea what this alien creature is, the weird sexual nature of how it attacks people. It was such a unique and clever type of monster, and that was all new, which made it extra scary because you didn't know what to expect. And again, Alien Romulus does not benefit from being new. Its derivativeness undercuts the horror throughout the entire movie. Say what you want about Prometheus and Alien Covenant, but at least those movies were doing something different. They weren't just being derivative. They weren't making Alien over and over again. Aliens, of course, same thing. It was a totally different movie. Alien Romulus, it doesn't reinvent the wheel, and it doesn't do anything interesting with the existing wheel. It's just like Fede Alvarez went to Ridley Scott's house to play with his toys, and that was it. You have a cast that doesn't work, and then you have aliens that aren't threatening. So with those two things, the movie doesn't have a lot of density to it. The movie doesn't have a lot of oomph. These big, long-running franchises, they seem to often fall into one of two traps. One, they end up getting turned into something completely different in order to appeal to new audiences, and they lose everything that made them special in the first place. The other trap they fall into is when they're so afraid of losing their audience or displeasing them in some way that they just keep doing the same thing over and over again, and they just keep going back to the nostalgia well until it runs dry. Alien Romulus falls more into that latter category. Now, remember when I said I liked the ending? The ending, to an extent, does feel fresh. The ending, the last, let's say 15, 20 minutes, something happens, no spoilers, something happens that is different, that is weird, that some people probably won't like, but at least it's different. At least suddenly you don't know what's going to happen. Suddenly the movie becomes unpredictable, and as a result, kind of scary. And in my opinion, what happens in the last 15 or 20 minutes of the movie should have happened in the first 20 minutes of the movie. Then we would have had an Alien movie that was different. Maybe people wouldn't have liked it, but people aren't going to like this one. At least we would have had a movie that some people wouldn't have liked, but was new and different and might have had some kind of merit and took something old and made it new and added to it. And that's what we're supposed to do. Well, those are my thoughts. Go down in the comments below and let me know your thoughts on my thoughts. Are you excited for Alien Romulus? What are your favorite Alien movies? Do you like Alien better than Aliens? Do you like Prometheus? I like Prometheus. A lot of people don't. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you so choose. Just as a little tease coming up, I think I'm going to do a review of the new 4K restoration of The Conversation. I also got a screener for the new director's cut of Caligula. So I got those in the old dugout. But I must depart. It's getting to be my bedtime. But I will leave you with, as always, the undeniable truth that every day underground is a good day.
Wait. Do you see it? There.
Fucking thing's hunting us.
Right. New plan.
Can you manage yourself with the gun?
Yes, I fucking can. Right, this is an F-44 AA pulse rifle. It's rotating breech electronic pulse action. That's what the Colonial Marines used. AA stands for aiming assist. So, right, you put that under your arm. That's it. Right, this hand here. Aim it towards Andy. Pull the trigger halfway. Don't worry, the safety's on. See? Aiming assistance. If that thing comes towards you, you point it in this general direction, you'll never miss.
Where'd you learn all this?
Games and magazines.